Hey, everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, go ahead and hit that 5-star rating and leave a review. Folks, it's a very big week for the Ethereum Spot ETF. This is going to be very interesting. What will scumbag regulator Gary Gensler and the SEC do? Will they approve or deny these ETFs? Because we have some very big players who are issuers of the Bitcoin Spot ETF in the ETH ETF race. That includes VanEck, 21 shares in ARK, Hashdex, Grayscale, Invesco and Galaxy, BlackRock, and Fidelity. Now, unlike the Bitcoin Spot ETF situation, this is more complicated because there's questions as to if Ethereum is a security. Those are not questions I have, but these are things that are coming up from the SEC, and we're going to go through multiple reports and what different sources are saying. First, let's talk about the overall consensus and sentiment, because we see a lot of people are saying this is not going to happen. There's low confidence that this is going to get approved, and this is coming from many top analysts. So here's a headline from MarketWatch saying Ether ETFs are unlikely to arrive this month. Get ready for more legal battles ahead. Here's what Emily Graffeo, reporter at Bloomberg, had to say. My latest reporting on the spot ETH ETF race. Some issuers are expecting a rejection next week because their private dialogue with the SEC hasn't been as robust as it had been prior to the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So unlike the Bitcoin Spot ETF situation, there's been very limited dialogue and back and forth between the SEC and the issuers. So they're getting the feeling that this is not going to happen. Here's what Nate Garachi, president of the ETF store, who has a ton of experience with ETFs, he said, SEC decision deadline this week on spot ETH ETFs. SEC must approve both the 19B-4's exchange rule changes and S-1's registration statements for ETFs to launch. Technically possible for SEC to approve 19B-4's and then slow play S1s, especially given the reported lack of engagement here. Folks, it gets even more complicated. It's not just the dialogue. But what we saw is that Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler were colluding for months now to set the table for some sort of denial or delay here. If you go back up to March, we saw two Democratic senators sent a letter to Gary Gensler and the SEC saying, no more ETFs. We have concerns about crypto. Don't approve any more ETFs. When this news broke back in the middle of March, I told you guys, these random Democratic senators didn't just wake up and say, we hate crypto, we hate ETFs. They were strategically placed to do that, to create the optics that it's not just Elizabeth Warren, but we know Elizabeth Warren is the one pulling the levers behind the scene. And their names were Democratic Senators Jack Reed and LaFonza Butler, and they urged the SEC to crack down on what they called alarming deficiencies in crypto market and disclosure. So essentially saying no more ETFs. So right away, they were setting the table here for what we could potentially see this weekend. That is a denial. Now, the other factor is literally a week later, we got reports that the Ethereum Foundation was getting communications from the SEC, Wells notices and all that stuff, looking to classify Ethereum as a security. Now, that is a problem. Now, a security can, of course, be in an ETF, but could be Gary's optics, right? He's going to use this as an excuse like, hey, we're doing an investigation. We are in litigation with these folks, so we can't approve anything because there's too much uncertainty here. So once again, Gensler is building his case here. What we also saw is that Consensus, which of course also works on Ethereum, they said that they were getting communications in the SEC, and then what they ended up doing was suing the SEC. So what a mess the SEC has created, because if you go back to under Jay Clayton as the chairman of the SEC, Bill Hinman, who reported to Jay Clayton and got his approval, said Ethereum is not a security. Gary Gensler refuses to echo those statements, and he refuses to even say a word to even Congress, right? Patrick McHenry asked him, sir, is Ethereum a security or not? And Gary did not want to answer. So what a complete mess. So we could see Gary Gensler delay the ETFs and use these things as excuses. And remember, the only reason the Bitcoin spot ETFs got approved in the first place is because the courts forced the SEC to do so. They called the SEC arbitrary and capricious, and it ended up being Gary Gensler siding with Hester Peirce and Mark Ueda to get the ETFs approved. Two Democratic commissioners denied it, right? So it was a 3-2 vote. So it obviously went through, but you still had two of them who said no. Unbelievable. Despite what the court said, they still chose to vote no. So this is what we're dealing with here. So there's certainly a major hurdle at the SEC. Now, there are some who are still optimistic that this could get approved. And I don't think they're, right. The probability of this getting approved is very low at this point. Now, it could still get approved in this market cycle. But here, Coinbase says market underestimating timing and odds of spot Ethereum ETF. This is a statement by Coinbase analyst David Hahn. Here's a quote. He says, "We think the market may be underestimating the timing and odds of a potential approval." Hahn wrote in a Thursday report, Ether may yet have the potential to surprise to the upside in the coming months and does not appear to have major sources of supply-side overhangs, such as a token unlocks or minor sell pressure. Now, Coinbase, it's in their best interest to say these things, right? Because they're building on Ethereum, and Ethereum is, probably the most or the second traded asset out there behind Bitcoin. So they're making money off of this. Do I think that we may see an Ethereum spot ETF in this bull market cycle later in the bull market cycle? I think so. Now, I'm not giving it 100% probability. I'll say 60%, right? So more than 50%, but I don't think we see it this week. But you never know, right? We could get surprised. Maybe, folks, and hear me out now. Maybe Gary doesn't want to get sued by BlackRock, Fidelity, ARK, all of the above, Grayscale, and so forth. With the Bitcoin ETF situation, it was only Grayscale suing them. Now you have massive Wall Street powerhouses who have huge legal teams, tons of money and resources and so forth, who can tie you up in litigation. Does Gary want to deal with that? I think the question goes back to Elizabeth Warren and, how hard of a stance is she taking here? Maybe the losses they took last week with the Senate repealing SOB 121, and then in the previous week, the House repealing SOB 121, the narrative and optics changing for them. Maybe they back down a bit, right? Who knows? These are the questions and things that are going to happen this week. It's very fascinating. Folks, also, yesterday I shared with you guys Crypto Wizard's analysis about Ethereum saying, look, the Ethereum ETF denial is priced in, and ETH has been bleeding, on the Bitcoin chart, the ETH to Bitcoin chart. So it is forming a falling wedge, which is bullish. And he said, look, we could see a breakout to 5,100 over the next couple months, of course. So things are still gonna, move forward with the market. So we'll see what happens. It's fascinating. There's so many things here. We're going to talk about the FIT bill vote coming up as well. But quick word from our sponsor, and that is BitGo. BitGo is one of the top crypto custodians in the market. They are working with many big brands, such as crypto exchanges, wallets, and so forth. They work with Pantera Capital. That's Dan Morehead's hedge fund. Bitstamp, Bitcoin IRA. In fact, Nike uses Bitstamp's wallet service for their NFTs. Some of the services that BitGo offers includes hot wallets, custodial wallets, self-managed cold wallets, NFT wallets, and more. So they have top-tier security, insurance, and all that stuff. And it's headed up by Mike Belshi, who is building in Web 1.0, 2.0, and now is here in Web 3.0. So if you'd like to learn more about BitGo, visit bitgo.com or check out the link in the description. Now, folks, the other big thing happening this week is the FIT21 crypto regulation bill in the House. What a week that's coming up, right? And the so-called FIT21 legislation to establish a U.S. regulatory regime for digital assets is set for a floor vote next week, and the sector is telling House leaders the effort is crucial. So many industry powerhouses and leaders sent a letter to the folks in the House saying, we got to get this through, including Coinbase, Kraken, Andreessen Horowitz, Digital Currency Group, and about 50 others. Now, this bill would set the CFTC as the leading regulator of digital assets, as it sets out clear divisions for what the CFTC will handle and what would fall under the reach of the SEC. It would establish consumer protections, including rules around custody of customers' assets and their treatment in bankruptcy, and set up further guardrails against risky behavior. So, of course, this is what we've been talking about for a long time, folks. We need balanced regulations, allows for innovation, protects consumers, right? And it clearly delineates between the SEC and CFTC duties and who has to do what. And I believe more power needs to go to the CFTC because they're not as politically driven. Don't get me wrong, they are politically driven to some degree. A lot of the federal agencies are, but we see the SEC has been rotten at its core, led by scumbag regulator Gary Gensler. So this is a big time vote. And folks, if this makes it out of the House, it will be historic. The first comprehensive crypto market structure bill coming out of the House. It would be historic. Now, I don't think it makes it to the Senate right away. We got the election coming up, and I think it needs to be merged with Senator Lummis and Gillibrand's bill. And I think maybe we get something through the Senate next year. But getting out the House will be a massive loss for Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler, and could really put them back on their heels, and it will be very bullish for the market. Now, here's what Ryan Selkis of Messari had to say regarding this, because there's so many layers to this political crypto mashup here, right? He said the FIT21 vote this week will be a big one in DC. We'll see if crypto remains a partisan football. It's a legacy-defining moment for Representative Maxine Waters. Plus, Waters' vote will likely make or break Hakeem Jeffries' chance at Speaker of the House for the next Congress. Why, he says? There's 3 things you should know about the political dynamics of this vote. I'll unpack them all. Number 1, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, embarrassed the Democrats and Waters. Number 2, as Waters goes, so does the Democrat conference. Number 3, Liz Warren's SOB 121 rebuke opens the door for a potential landslide FIT21 win. We saw the Democrats sided with the Republicans to repeal this, both in the House and the Senate. Huge loss for Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler. Number 3, the SBF picture, the one that Maxine Waters took with SBF. We know it's made the rounds. It's pretty famous. The truth is that Waters and McHenry, talking about Patrick McHenry, have had a cordial relationship and worked productively together for many years. Their approach to crypto has legitimately been a good faith bipartisan effort. Sam screwed it up. Number 4, SBF was a master at the DC game, but his FTX fraud burned our DC friends. It allowed adversaries like Liz Warren to attack and force allies like Waters to retreat. Waters faced pressure to step away from the FIT21 when FTX collapsed and the GOP took control of the House. Number 5, this has led to a dynamic I've written about, which is 1, Liz Warren shrieks about crypto being evil. 2, her henchmen / staffers in the Biden administration apply pressure from all angles. Number 3, that leads to anti-crypto calls from the White House to House leaders like Waters. Sand in the gears. Number 6 here, he says, I wrote about this dynamic in the annual thesis in which I broke down the source of Liz Warren's power. This is probably word for word the most precise political analysis, and he went through the whole thing. I'm not going to read through that for you guys. So he says, why drag leader Representative Jeffries into this? I had the opportunity to look him in the eye, explicitly call out the Warren White House Waters dynamic, and ask a question. He said it would take time plus effort to bring Representative Maxine Waters around. He says, I wrote about the exchange. Number 8, I highlight that exchange for 2 reasons. 1, Representative Jeffries strikes me as a good, strong leader, even though I probably disagree with many of his policies. He defers to his committee chairs. Number 2, one line stuck with me. He said that Waters has no shrinking violet to laughs. Number 9, there was a lot of subtext in the meeting, but to me, the punchline was politics may be a team sport, but Representative Maxine Waters answers to no one in the Senate. That is why last week's SOB 121 pressure was so critical. It's opened the door for a bipartisan FIT21 vote. Number 10, Liz Warren's anti-crypto crusade has been extremely costly for the Democrats. They should be irate at her bad faith engagement with the crypto industry. It will cost them the Senate, likely the White House, but might not cost them the House if FIT21 passes by 200 plus votes. Now he continues on, but I wanted to give you guys some perspective there and some insights. This is a very big week, folks, because if this makes it out of the House, Democrats join the Republicans again and continue this momentum that they used to repeal SOB 121 in the House and Senate. It's going to be D-Day for Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler. They are not going to have a good week. So fingers crossed, even if Gary denies the Ethereum spot ETFs, he's losing the war. He may win that Ethereum ETF battle right there, but he's losing the war here. So big things in the works, folks. I'm very bullish. I was in DC last week, and crypto is a big topic. It can't be ignored. I've been telling you guys it has become ubiquitous. We're seeing penetration in politics, pop culture, the traditional financial markets, society, and much more. And no one can ignore it anymore, even in the political realm. Regardless of your party, Republican or Democrat, young, old, whatever you gotta talk about it. You gotta bring it up. It's here to stay, and it's only gonna grow in prominence and awareness. So, exciting times ahead. I would love to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts and comments below, folks. Don't forget to check out my book, Rethinking Crypto: The Crash of FTX and the Rise of Safer, Stronger Digital Assets. You can grab a copy on Amazon, paperback and digital. Buy a copy to support the podcast. Also, buy some copies to give to your family and friends who want to learn about crypto. It touches on crypto's past, present, and future. Gives some tips for investing in crypto. Talks about tokenization, the Bitcoin ETF race, why Gary Gensler and the SEC have been attacking the industry, why Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX were not the ethos of crypto, and much more. Check it out, guys. Grab a copy. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you for your support, and I'll talk to you all later.